Today, our topic is about sustainable development. So, what should we expect from this lesson? First, we are going to define what sustainable development is. This will be followed by the discussion of the different Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Lastly, we will take a quick tour on the UN SDGs dashboard. So, what is sustainable development? It is the meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own. This is according to the World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987. So, sumadaling sabi, ang sustainable development is acknowledging the needs and wants of the present generation without forgetting that the resources that we now consume will also be consumed by the future generations. When did we care about the environment and development? In June 1992, the UN Conference on Environment and Development happened in Rio de Janeiro. This was the first Earth Summit where governments and development agencies agreed upon to sign the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. So it is in the UNCED that nations realized the need to come up with a common understanding of sustainable development. So the story did not end in 1992 because today, nations focused on the 17 goals to achieve sustainable development. So it also makes sense na sustainable development is highly connected or influenced by the environment as resources that we need today and in the future are basically drawn out from the environment. So we all need to protect the environment in order to continuously accumulate resources that we will use today and to the future. So what are the Sustainable Development Goals? In September 2015, the United Nations Summit happened where 193 country members of the United Nations agreed and set the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So to achieve this agenda, 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs or the global goals came into effect in January 1, 2016. So kung mapapansin, from January 1, 2016 up to 2030, that would take almost 15 years in order to achieve the 17 SDG goals or SDGs from the United Nations. The 5 P's of SDGs. So the 5 P's of the SDGs can help understand why the SDGs are important and how we will all benefit from addressing each goal. So yung 5 P's basically ito yung pinagbasehan ng Sustainable Development Goals. At the same time, ito rin yung end result na ini-expect from the achievement of the goals. So the first is people, of course, betterment of the lives of people, the planet, no, that we remain living in this planet as it continues to live in the future, prosperity, so enhancement of economic life of the people, peace, because the more peaceful the world is, the less destructions in the planet as well as destructions in the lives of people, and partnership, wherein it is believed that it is through partnership that all resources will be resourcefully used. So, gaya ng nabanggit kanina, from 2016 to 2030, 15 years, 17 UN SDGs, 169 targets, and 230 indicators. Because in order to know if the 17 goals were achieved, we have to look at the specific targets. Now, the specific targets all have indicators to measure if the targets were already achieved. So, kunwari, sa isang SDG, like for example, this one, SDG 1, no poverty. So, this SDG promotes the end of poverty in all its forms everywhere. Besides that, the actual goal is to achieve the reduction of the number of people living in less than 1.25 per day. So kung i-compute nyo to sa $1 to 50 pesos plus 0.25, this is around 75 pesos per day. So ang goal, SDG goal 1, SDG 1 is basically to reduce yung number ng mga tao na ang kinikita lang sa isang araw ay 75 pesos or pababa. So merong mga specific na targets kung makikita nyo dito sa PowerPoint, in the notes in the PowerPoint. Pero ang mahalaga is to recognize the need to lower the number of people who are poor. So, people living less than $1.90 per day or roughly 100 pesos per day ay karamihan nasa Southern Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa, which consists 70% of the population, while other regions compose 30%. So the World Bank sets the international poverty line at periodic intervals as the cost of living for basic food, clothing, and shelter around the world changes. So in 2008, the poverty line was set at $1.25 per day. In 2015, the threshold was updated to $1.90 per day, which is where it currently stands. So ang sinasabi dito, because of inflation as well, napag-aralan na rin natin yan, yung poverty line na tinatawag ay tumataas. Ibig sabihin, dapat yung amount ng kinikita ng isang tao ay dapat hindi mas mababa sa 100 piso kada araw in 2015. So when we say absolute poverty, this is an internationally set standard of measuring poverty in relation to one's ability to meet basic needs. So in relation dun sa nabanggit ko na, in 2008 kasi, yung 75 pesos per day basically can still sustain the needs of one certain family of 4 per day. So makakakain ka pa rin ng 3 beses sa isang araw, roughly. So kung mas mababa sa 75 pesos ang kinikita ng isang pamilya, ibig sabihin yun lang talaga yung kinikita ng isang buong pamilya, less than 75 pesos, you will be considered poor kasi your capacity to fulfill your basic needs for one day will not be there, no, hindi kayang punuin ng 75 pesos. Kaso dahil sa inflation, yung poverty line natin ngayon is nasa 100, almost 100 pesos per day. Kasi ang assumption, it would take 100 pesos per a certain family of 4 to live a day with 3 meals a day and their other basic needs. So kung mapapansin, when we say absolute poverty, ito yung sinasabi na your capacity to fulfill your basic needs. So if you lack the capacity to fulfill the basic needs, so syempre absolute poor ang tawag doon. Parang yun ang view sa'yo. Next, yung isa naman is what we call relative poverty. So when we say relative poverty, it is defined and measured by income inequalities of a particular social context. So hindi ka necessarily absolute poor, pero you are relatively poor in terms of the social context that you are in. So lalo na kunwari, nasa mayayamang bansa ka katulad ng Canada or Norway or US, kung nabubuhay ka ng less than 100, ng kahit more than 200 pesos per day ang kinikita mo, relatively poor ka compared dun sa social context that you are in. Dito siguro sa Pilipinas, hindi ka masyadong absolute poor yung mga less than 100 pesos per day, pero kunwari, kumikita ka ng 150 per day, di ba kung mapapansin, hindi siya kasing poor as compared sa iba. So, ang point ko is, kung nasa United States ka, even if you're living above the poverty line set by the World Bank, you are relatively poor in terms dun sa mga taong nakapaligid sa'yo at sa community that you are living in. Kasi pwedeng nabubuhay sila ng nasa $10 per day. So, ikaw nasa $2 per day ka. So, above ka ng poverty line, pero compared sa mga nasa members of your community who are living $10 per day, no, ikaw ay mas comparatively poorer than them. Okay. So, basically, SDG 1 aims to end that kinds of poverty, while SDG 2 promotes zero hunger. So, end of hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. So this goal directs attention to sustainable food production, resilient agriculture, and local and global cooperation when it comes to investing in agricultural productivity. So in terms of SDG 2, more than 790 million people kasi ang walang access sa nutritious food. So, maaaring nakakakain sila but not necessarily enough to fight undernourishment, malnutrition, and child problems in child growth, lalo na sa mga countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So, as defined by the World Food Summit in 1996, we can consider ourselves food secure when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their needs. So yung konsepto ng zero hunger ay hindi lamang nakukulong dun sa goal na merong kinakain ng lahat ng tao sa buong mundo. No? It also aims to make sure that lahat ng tao sa mundo ay kumakain ng nutritious food that would allow child growth and capacity to work, to function as a normal human being. Kasi madalas, mayroong mga taong nakakakain pero hindi nutritious yung food nila enough to allow them to work, no, or function in a normal way. So, yun yung SDG 2. SDG 3, very timely, is in terms of good health. So ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So this improves access to universal healthcare, access to affordable medicines, and sexual and reproductive healthcare services for everyone. So kaya kung mapapansin nyo, itong mga SDGs, meron itong kinalaman dun sa mga kind ng policies na fino-formulate ngayon ng ating gobyerno. Kaya kung narinig nyo na, diba, supposedly this year, raratipikahan na dapat yung universal healthcare law natin kung saan lahat ng tao sa Pilipinas magkakaroon na ng PhilHealth, magkakaroon na ng capacity na magamot sa mga hospital kahit wala silang pambayad. Kaso, di ba, dahil nagkaroon ng COVID, yung budget para sa universal healthcare ay na-divert para sa contingency plans para sa COVID-19 response. So, pero regardless, ang point is, the governments are doing something in order to achieve these goals. Kasi nga naman, kung may mga target ka na naka-impose under these goals, kailangan gumawa ka ng policies in order to make sure that it will be implemented or achieved in the entire country. So, lalo na in relation din sa sexual and reproductive healthcare, di ba meron na ring bill or law na naipasa si Risa Hontiveros regarding this. So, ang point is to ensure that individuals would have a capacity to better achieve the goals of the United Nations through policies by the government. Okay. Next, SDG 4, quality education. So, ensure inclusive and quality education for all and promote lifelong learning. So, this goal aims to ensure everyone has access to basic education. So, kasama sa mga dapat ma-achieve dito ay improvement ng school facilities, increase the number of training and vocational opportunities for people, and increase the number of trained teachers available to provide a safe and positive learning environment. So, dito sa SDG 4, isa sa mga importanteng ma-achieve dito ay yung konsepto ng inclusive, no, and quality education for all. Kasi yung ibig sabihin ng inclusive, kahit mayaman ka or mahirap ka, dapat magkaroon ng capacity ang lahat ng individuals within a certain state to achieve quality education within their country. So, kaya nga ang mga goals dito is to increase the number of teachers. So, para mas maraming mga batang maturuan, and at the same time, kung hindi man sila makapasok sa formal education institutions, no, yun yung sinasabi mga trainings or vocational opportunities that could be given kung hindi nila kayang, meron kasi mga individual na hindi, diba, kaya nilang makipagsabayan dun sa normal or basic nating education. So, mas madalas sila yung mga vocational types of individuals na mas natututo sila sa paggawa ng mga vocational types of work. So, kung makikita nyo, yun yung ibig sabihin ng inclusive kasi nire-recognize mo yung fact that not everyone can conform to the basic educational system. Next, SDG 5, gender equality. So, achieve gender equality and empower women and girls. So, to achieve this goal, there is a need to examine forms of discrimination, find ways to end violence and exploitation, and to empower women and girls. So, kung nakikita nyo, merong mga policies like, for example, violence against women and children, ipinopromote ang mga all government agencies tuwing October ata yung buwan na yun. So kung mapapansin, itong buwan na to, nire-recognize, pinapalaganap yung knowledge that the violence against women and children should end. So dito rin nagfo-fall yun sa SDG 5. Tsaka yung creation ng mga anti-discrimination policies also fall under SDG 5. Yun yung sinasabing SOGI bill na gustong i-promote would fall under the achievement of SDG 5. So some of the issues that this goal addresses include gendered violence, discrimination on the basis of gender, and economic marginalization. So for example, 35% of women worldwide have experienced physical and or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner violence. So about 133 million girls and women have also experienced some form of female genital mutilation in the 29 countries in Africa and the Middle East where it most often occurs. Siguro nakapanood na kayo ng mga documentaries regarding this, yung continuous genital mutilation na nagaganap sa Africa and Middle East, bunsod nung kanilang cultural prevalence pa rin ng pag-practice ng ganitong sexual practice. So ang point is nagkakaroon ng problema kasi nawawalan ng choice na nade-discriminate pa rin at hindi na i-empower yung mga batang babae in order for them to continue their lives based on their choice, based on their capacities. Okay. Next, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. So ensure that all will have access to water and sanitation. So this goal not only focuses on human consumption of water, but the quality and sustainability of water resources worldwide. So despite the fact na napapaligiran tayo ng maraming tubig dagat, hindi kasi natin yun pwedeng gamitin sa ating pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan. So ang sinasabi ng SDG 6 is that all countries, all states should ensure the utilization and sustainability of water resources that can be used for human consumption up until 2030 and into the future. Next, SDG 7. So, clean energy. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. So, the world's demand for natural resources is greater than the supply that we have. So there is a need to promote renewable resources. So yun yung sinasabi dahil di ba yung electricity natin or energy nagmumula sa oil, fossil fuels, ang assumption is mas malami na yung demand for energy, yung electricity, rather than the supply that we have to produce that kind of energy or electricity. So there is a need to source out renewable resources in the form of solar energy, windmills, etc., so that to ensure that the future generations will still have the capacity for clean energy and electricity for their consumption. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. So this promotes inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment, and decent work for all. So achieving this goal means making sure that jobs are safe, available, and supportive for everyone. So kung mapapansin, ito ay more of an economic type, that this ensures fair wage, actually dito rin naka-under yun, at saka yung konsepto ng good work environment, lalo na sa panahon ngayon ng pandemic, the SDG 8 would tell you that all workers should be provided the capacities to work in a safe and supportive environment in order for them to function as workers, as laborers, and in order for the economy to continue to grow. So SDG 9, innovation and infrastructure. Build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. So dito, kaya nga pwede nating iangkla dito yung build policy or program ni President Duterte that aims to improve the infrastructure facilities in the Philippines. Kung makakapag-search kayo, may kasama sa build yung paggawa ng mga light rail trains sa mga lugar dito sa Luzon that would connect Luzon to Metro Manilas ano in order to limit no yung number ng mga taong tumitira sa Maynila. So para mabawasan, ma-depopulate ang Manila, yung mga nagtatrabaho sa Manila should no longer board no yung magtumira sa Maynila in order for them to work in their workplaces. Because of these infrastructures, light rail trains that would easily allow them to travel from, let's say for example, Bulacan, no, magkakaroon ng capacities ngayon na ma-depopulate ang Manila and malilesen yung incidence of poverty then as well. Tsaka congestion and all the problems that comes with it. Besides that, if you're familiar also, President Duterte is also promoting the Clark as one of its main economic cities. So ang mangyayari ngayon, gagawin na yung mga businesses would be pushed no to put their headquarters just like in Makati or in Taguig in Clark in order to create a certain environment that would depopulate again no the individuals working in Manila and go to Clark as another city that they could venture in. Next, SDG 10, reduce inequality. So reduce inequality within and among countries. So more than 75% of the population in developing countries are living in societies where income is more unequally distributed now than it was in 1990s. So sa pag-aaral natin ng globalization, nakita nyo naman siguro, lalo na dun sa topic sa global divide, sa Asian regionalism, yung konsepto ng division at yung inequality among states. No? Meron talagang tinatawag na global north and global south wherein development is one of the factors that could be considered as one of the inequalities aside from wealth, no? Aside from wealth and educational capacities of the people. So because of the welfare that the government could provide. So sa SDG 10, ang ini-aim is to reduce that inequality, not necessarily eliminate but reduce, because eliminating the inequality would be impossible, but to reduce the inequality in such a manner that not all yung discrepancy between mayaman and mahirap would be reduced, no? Para hindi masyadong mayaman yung mayaman at hindi masyadong mahirap ang mga mahihirap. So siguro ito yung isa sa pinakamahirap i-achieve because yung world politics is also at play here, international relations is also at play here, because regardless of the fact that we have relationships with other countries, the fact that still remains that they would use the resources of the Philippines and the Filipinos as laborers or workers in order to continue their development in expense of our development. So yung mga Pilipino, yung mga nurse, mga doktor, no, mga workers, mga carpentero, etc., that would prefer to work overseas instead of working in the Philippines would result to further develop the developed countries and to go away with the help that the Philippines could actually get from these people through development. So hindi mo naman din sila masisisi. Pero ang point is, inequality is rampant and it's very difficult to address. So kaya nga isa siya sa mga SDGs. Next, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. So make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So this goal is all about managing urban development. So managing the slums, urban sprawl, waste management, and air pollution. So kung naalala niyo yung topic natin sa global cities, no, may recognition na ito yung mga headquarters, no, ito yung mga ang mga global cities ang nagiging base ng mga large TNCs and MNCs for their production, decision making, and all. So ang point ng SDG 11 is they do recognize the existence of these kinds of cities and they want to eliminate yung konsepto ng slums, urban sprawl, waste management, and air pollution that is brought about by these headquarters and production facilities that would contribute to environmental degradation, continuous pressing of poverty, etc. So if you make these global cities more sustainable and resilient and safe, no, inclusive as a city, magkakaroon ng improvement in all other factors, all other goals that were already discussed. So SDG 12, responsible consumption. I think this is also important, no? So ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Sustainable consumption and production is all about promoting resource and energy efficiency, sustainable infrastructure, and jobs that provide access to basic services, decent work, and a better quality of life for everyone. So for SDG 12, ang pinopromote is yung concept that we acknowledge our way of life, no? We acknowledge our way of life, how what we consume and how we consume them. Kasi what we consume also affects, no, the environment, no? What we consume also affects how we work, no? How we would be able to work in a daily basis. So if countries would promote responsible consumption and production patterns, mas magkakaroon tayo ng capacity to sustain, no, the economy further along the line, at least for the next generations to come. So SDG 13, protect the planet. So take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. So on April 22nd, 2016, Earth Day, 175 member states signed the Paris Agreement, aiming to reduce the pace of climate change and accelerate the actions and investments needed for a low-carbon future. Siguro ito naman ay hindi na isang goal na hindi natin alam, no, na hindi tayo familiar with, because matagal nang merong mga calls to protect the environment in order for it to be more sustainable for future generations. Next. SDG 14, life below water. So conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources. The protection of our marine environments is integral to the species that lived in them and on the communities that rely on them. So si SDG 14, besides the actual protection of the planet, meron pang specificity dun sa konsepto ng mga life under or below water. So ito yung mga coral reefs na patuloy na nade-destruct because of the continuous fossil fuel extraction, etc. So kung mapapansin, yung paggamit natin ng electricity ay merong indirect effect dun sa mga life, yung mga coral, yung mga marine life na nasa ating mga karagatan. So yun yung sinasabi, kaya ito ay ginawa na rin isang goal, na specific goal, to ensure that countries would create barriers, no, in order to limit the fossil fuel extraction that would degrade, no, the oceans and the marine life that is under them. Next. SDG 15. Kung meron namang sustainable development on life underwater, meron ding life on land. So this is sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. So dito, nire-recognize na marami na tayong mga kabundukan, hindi lang sa Pilipinas, marami ding mga bansa, marami ng mga kabundukan na nawawalan na ng mga puno, na pinuputo ng mga puno. Sa Pilipinas, kinakainin kasi siya, ginagawang uling. So, yung konsepto na, at kapag kasi nawala na yung mga puno natin sa mga kagubatan, nawawalan din ng tirahan yung mga ibon, yung mga hayop na nasa forest, because they rely on these trees for their lives, no? So kung mapapansin, yung sinasabing biodiversity loss, kaya pansin niyo marami ding mga hayop na nagiging extinct na kasi yung mga habitat nila o yung mga tinitirhan nilang mga kagubatan ay unti-unti nang nawawala. So SDG 15 ensures that at least, no, in countries such as the Philippines, ma-sustain, ma-retain yung forest life na meron para magkaroon din, mabawasan yung biodiversity loss, tsaka yung land degradation. Yung land degradation is very seen, no? Kung nakita nyo yung nangyari nung bagyong Ulysses sa Cagayan, kasi di ba merong naging extraction or land degradation na naganap because of the extraction of minerals, no, sa mga kabundukan. Kaya ang nangyari doon ay nung umulan, bumaha, naging mataas yung baha kasi nga yung lupa ay hindi na siya matibay para mag-sustain ng ganong kalakas na tubig or ganong kadaming tubig. So, kaya makikita nyo rin yung need, no, to fulfill the SDGs kasi kung mapapansin nyo, more on promotion. They actually there for to promote. But ang point is to allow then people to be knowledgeable that these goals exist and that we can do something about this. Next, SDG 16. So peace and justice. Promote just, peaceful, and inclusive societies. So peace, justice, and the institutions that support the protection, the rights of citizens are the foundations of sustainable development. So besides the planet, no, and prosperity and yung konsepto ng peace, no, meron ding konsepto ng justice, no, yung konsepto that in order for peace to propagate, we have to promote just institutions. Ibig sabihin ng just institutions, yung hindi corrupt na mga institutions in order for individuals to support and trust these institutions, like for example, yung mga court laws natin, in order for us to maintain peace with one another. So isa rin ito sa mahirap na i-achieve because peace and justice basically difficult to achieve lalo na kung ito ay based sa merong mga paniniwala rin na involved, no, ideologies that are involved. Next, then lastly, SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. Revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. So in order to achieve all the targets laid out in the 2030 agenda, we will have to revitalize and enhance the ability for governments, civil society, and the private sector, the UN and other stakeholders to mobilize the necessary resources. Siguro isa ito sa pinopromote ng UN, no. Ito yung isa sa mga roles na dapat nating i-take into consideration with the United Nations. It may not promote actual actions, no, on the ground, pero yung promotion kasi ng mga ganitong kinds of goals, no, that would allow countries to focus on things. Like for example, kasi kung may ganito kang mga pinopromote SDGs, no, countries are encouraged to achieve them, no, in a certain time frame or time period. Nagkakaroon ngayon ng patutunguhan, nagkakaroon ng lead lahat ng bansa, not just one country. All of the countries in the world are leading towards one certain goal, which is basically to achieve all of the 17 SDGs by 2030. So, it may not be possible to achieve them all, but at least countries may do something partly or subtly about them or to promote certain targets and indicators that will allow individuals' lives to be promoted and the planet to be promoted as well. So, visit the SDG dashboard to see the recent world data showing our progress in meeting the targets for the 17 global goals. Kaya kung makikita nyo, di ba meron akong isang PDF na tungkol sa SDGs lamang. So 200 pages yun. You do not necessarily need to read about it, but it's something that you can once in a while look, no, lalo na kung meron kayong mga requirements regarding development because it's something that would guide you, no, kung paano ba ma-achieve sustainable development. So in relation to the Philippine initiatives, no, in the implementation of the SDG, siguro magtatanong kayo, ma'am, ano na po bang ginagawa ng Pilipinas, no, in relation to the promotion and implementation of the SDGs from the United Nations? Ito ay isang report na nakuha namin sa NEDA noong October 5 pa to 2016. So kung makikita, ito yung mga outline niya, no, the presentation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, the national efforts in SDGs mainstreaming. Pag sinabing SDGs mainstreaming, promotion ng mga SDGs. Ibig sabihin, pagpapakilala, no, pag-promote ng SDGs sa mga tao, sa mga opisina, sa mga businesses, etc. The means of implementation and then the next steps. So ito yung kaninang picture na pinakita ko, 15 years, 17 goals, 169 targets, and 230 indicators. Kung curious kayo, ito yung mga goals, no, and their respected targets and indicators. So kung mapapansin nyo, maraming areas na kailangang i-achieve, no. Katulad yan, sa goal 1 and poverty, no, 7 yung targets niya, and yung indicators to show that you already achieved this goal are 12. So yung ganun yung framework niya, no, na merong mga specific targets, tapos in order for you to verify objectively if these targets were already achieved, meron kang mga indicators, like for example, yun nga, poverty line, no, gaano kadami na yung mahirap sa Pilipinas, ano na yung poverty line, magkano yung kinikita ng mga Pilipino, etc. So dito yun makikita. So ayan pa yung mga ibang targets and indicators. So in terms of the national efforts on SDGs mainstreaming, no, ito yung ginawang framework ng NEDA. So building awareness, integrate SDGs in plans and programs, yun nga yung mga nababanggit ko kanina, yung mga policies and programs, Build, SOGI Bill, yung anti-discrimination law, VAUSI. So ini-integrate ngayon yung mga SDGs sa mga government plans and programs. SDGs indicators development kasi yung mga indicators kasi may vary in terms of paano siya kinukuha sa Pilipinas or paano siya mini-measure. So nag-set ang UN ng mga indicators. However, pagdating kasi sa Pilipinas, syempre, iba yung tawag, iba yung way ng pag-measure natin sa mga indicators na isinet rin ng UN. So ito yung kaya may SDGs indicators development and then the review of institutional mechanisms. So when we say review of institutional mechanisms, baka merong kailangang baguhin sa mga ginagawa ng gobyerno in order to promote the SDGs. Kasi kung gagawin yung nakasanayan, mga institutional mechanisms that are present, baka meron doon na naghihinder, no, sa capacity natin to achieve the SDGs. Kaya sinabing review. No? Tignan yung mga institutional mechanisms that are present in order to ensure that what we are doing in the government would allow us to promote and achieve the SDGs. So magandang framework ito from NEDA, no, in order to mainstream the SDGs in the Philippines. So in terms of building awareness, briefings on the SDGs for various national government agencies, universities, and non-governmental organizations. So there are team and sector-focused fora and workshops. In terms of integrating SDGs in plans and programs, ayan yan. Kung makikita nyo sa ambisyon natin 2040, gumawa ang Pilipinas ng sarili niyang parang goals, no, that should be achieved in 2040. And in relation to that, in-incorporate yung mga SDGs na pinopromote ng United Nations. Successor Medium-Term Development Plan, sectoral plans, and the SDGs chapter on Philippine Statistical Development Program, 2011 to 2017 update. So in terms of the development of SDGs and the indicators, meron tayong dalawa, yung global level participation and national level. So yung pag-improve ng mga indicators ay nasa global and national level kasi nga meron nga mga nakukuha from the Philippines na mga datos at meron ding naman nakukuhang datos mula sa ibang mga bansa na ini-incorporate dito sa ating bansa. Okay. So the conduct of technical workshops on the SDGs indicators. So makikita, ito yung mga list ng mga naging workshops, no? At ito yung mga summary ng mga workshops na ginawa, no, for the 17 goals at saka yung types ng workshops na ginawa nila. So basically this is more of a status update, no, kung anong ginagawa ng NEDA in terms of promoting the SDGs and in improvement, developing the SDGs indicators in the Philippines. So, ang issues and concerns nila, yan, kung makikita nyo, data availability and disaggregation, lack of clarity of technical terms used, no clear definition of terms, need to check overlaps and inconsistencies of concepts of indicators across goals, accountability and ownership and budget. So kung makikita nyo, yung mga indicators, kasi NEDA is one of the agencies that collect, no, data and aggregate data. Ibig sabihin na aggregate sila yung nagsasama-sama ng data. Ito yung mga problema nila dun sa mga SDG indicators. May mga SDG indicators na maaaring gamitin sa hindi lang sa isang goal, kundi sa maraming goals, pero magkaiba kasi ng tawag. So kunwari, sa SDG 1, poverty line ang tawag, pero sa SDG ganito, iba yung tawag sa kanya, but you can use the same data set for both indicators. Kasi kung matatandaan nyo, binanggit ko rin kanina, na when you use the indicators in order to prove, that you already achieve the targets under the goals. Paano mo sasabihin na na-achieve mo na si SDG 1? Kung na-achieve mo na yung targets, how would you say that you achieved already the targets? Through objectively showing the data that supports those targets. So possible venues of technical support: capacity building, improvement of data system, advocacy or IEC campaigns, conduct of regular surveys, and manpower. So ito, mahirap talagang kumuha ng mga datos, lalo na kung yung datos na yun ang kailangan mo para ma-improve na na-achieve naman ng Pilipinas ang mga SDG indicators. So, review of institutional mechanisms. Existing mechanisms for the MDGs. So, ayan, kung makikita, meron tayong Special Committee on MDGs and then Regional Social Development Committee. At ito yung mga cabinet clusters. Ito yung mga grupo sa Congress na at saka mga civil society groups na at government institutions na humahawak dun sa pag-promote ng MDGs sa Pilipinas or SDGs sa Pilipinas. So, ito yung problem. No centralized coordinating and reporting body for the SDGs. So, there should be a creation of a dedicated oversight committee in its technical secretariat, composed of the heads of the various concerned national government agencies with the Secretary of Socio-Economic Planning as the chair. So, establishment of mechanism for the SDGs at the subnational level. So, NEDA subnational offices in Mindanao have passed a resolution requesting the establishment of an operational and integrated mechanism within NEDA. So, itong problema sa present na ginagawa ng gobyerno, wala tayong main na government agency na nagfo-focus sa pag-promote ng SDG. Kasi ang NEDA, isa lang ito sa mga naging trabaho niya, task, but it's not its main function. Ang main function ng NEDA is to create socio-economic plans, promotion of economic policies, in order to allow economic growth in the Philippines. So, isa lang to sa naging task niya. Pero ang sinasuggest is to have an actual government agency that would promote an actual government group. Kahit hindi agency, is a group that would oversee the promotion of the SDGs. Besides that, a creation of this group that would stem to regional level. So sa mga bawat region, magkaroon ng grupo na nag-o-oversight. Kasi as far as we know, the SDGs ay parang nasa iisang government agency lamang at hindi siya nai-spread sa lahat ng mga opisina sa Pilipinas. So means of implementation, yan, financing plan, effective development cooperation, capacity building, technology, planning and costing tool, and the threshold model for planning. For next steps, SDG implementation roadmap, framework on the needed actions, resources, responsibilities, and partnerships to ensure the success of SDG implementation, institutional arrangements, a dedicated high-level committee, nabanggit na yan kanina, development of SDGs indicators, nabanggit na rin, relevance to national priorities, clarity, and availability, especially of disaggregated data. Okay. Incorporate the SDGs in National Development Framework. So long-term vision, nabanggit na rin ito. Advocate or build up ownership of the SDGs. Develop a strategic communication plan, so part of the roadmap, to raise awareness, create a knowledge repository, ensure coherent messaging and advocacy, connect communication platforms, and mobilize growth support. And lastly, strengthen capacities of local leaders and communities, statistical agencies, and concerned institutions. So prepare a financial plan as part of the implementation roadmap. So ito yung present context na meron kaming nahanap regarding our SDG promotion. Pero I'm sure meron pang ibang reports, hindi lang na-present dito. Pero ang point ay the Philippines is doing something in terms of achieving the SDGs. At part ng SDGs yung isa sa SDG 2, end hunger, which will lead me to the next lesson, which is food security. So I have highlighted the readings no in relation to food security. I hope you would read that one because wala tayong PowerPoint para sa food security and you will have to rely on that reading that I highlighted. So ang sinasabi sa food security is yung food regime analysis. So makikita nyo doon yung interrelationship, how food is related to the political economy of the world in relation to the fact that because food is something that you need to survive, this yung pagkakaroon ng mga problems, concerns, issues in terms of the production and consumption of food resulted to individuals protesting or creating policies or asking for policy changes that would shape yung present global economy. So may relationship na naman ito sa global economy, si food security. Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon, kung mababasa nyo yung reading, i-discuss ko lang ng maikli, dahil nagkakaroon ng competition in terms of production of food. Certain countries are venturing in partnerships in order to produce or to have the monopoly of certain food products. Kunwari, cassava or corn, makababasa nyo doon yung sa corn sa Mexico, rice, etc. Nagkakaroon ngayon ng problem in terms of local markets. Like for example, nagpo-produce din naman ng mais sa Pilipinas. Pero ang nangyayari kasi, because of global partnerships, nagkakaroon ngayon ng competition yung local market natin for corn sa mga corn na pinoproduce sa ibang bansa. Hence, nagkakaroon ng discrepancy at nagkakaroon ng discrimination yung mga products sa Pilipinas. Let's say for example, corn nga. So, instead na bumili ka ng corn sa mga Filipino farmers, kukuha sa importer kasi mas mura siya, because kaya nila napamura yon because of yung cost ay nakikerry dun sa partnerships. So kapag nagsama kunwari ang dalawang bansa o ang isang bansa, merong mga companies within it, MNCs or TNCs, na nagsama para mag-produce ng corn at sila yung mag-monopolize ng production ng corn, they can lower the cost of production and manipulate the market for corn. So ano nangyari, imbis na kumuha ka sa local markets ng specific states, kukuha ka ngayon dun sa kanila bilang sila yung largest importer. You can rely on them any time of the year to produce the good. So, ang problema sa ganun, nagre-result yun sa mga local farmers being left behind and sila ngayon yung walang makain because they won't have the economic capacities to produce or to buy their food. In relation to the Philippine context, let's talk about the rice tarification law. Kasama yata yun sa mga pwede yung pagpilian na sa policy paper. Pansin niyo yung konsepto kasi din doon is yung pag-import natin ngayon ng bigas ay inilo-lower yung importation in order for us to have cheaper rice in the Philippines. Ano ang implication? Bumababa din ngayon yung presyo ng bigas sa Pilipinas na nanggagaling sa mga Pilipino kasi kailangan mo ngayon makipag-compete dun sa mababang presyo ng bigas na galing sa ibang bansa. Hence, kaya nga 'di ba, nung ipinost or na-ratify ang rice tarification law, maraming ang presyo ng bigas sa Pilipinas ay biglang bumagsak ng mabilis kasi nga inallow mo ngayon yung mga ibang bansa like for example Vietnam, Malaysia to enter Philippine rice market without restriction or with lesser restrictions that would now result dun sa mga bigas ng mga Pilipino being relatively expensive, more expensive than those from them. So ang mangyayari ngayon, kawawa si farmer sa Pilipinas kasi nag-produce siya ng bigas, pero yung bigas niya ngayon mas mahal pa kaysa dun sa in-import. So, ang gagawin ngayon ni farmer sa Pilipinas, magbababa siya ngayon ng presyo ng bigas. Kaso, that would not be enough to sustain his living, yung pagkain niya sa 3 araw. Yun yung point ni food security problem. Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon, yes, nakakapag-produce ka nga ng cheaper, na food in a global market because of the partnerships, relationships in the international arena, the creation of the MNCs and TNCs and their capacity to produce food in a much efficient manner. Pero ang result kasi nun ay nagkakaroon ng inability yung mga local farmers in all states, not just the Philippines, in all states, to sustain, no, na sumabay dun sa ganung konsepto. Kaya nangyayari, yes, nakakapag-produce ka ng cheaper and more efficient food in people's tables, pero ang problema, may mga taong, ang nagiging result niya, may mga taong nagiging gutom because of it. So, please read the reading in order for you to get a better grasp of what I am trying to say. But that's it in a nutshell. No, I hope I made that clear in a nutshell. Yung katulad din, lastly, katulad din sa bawang or sibuyas. Dahil nag-i-import na tayo ng bawang at sibuyas, yung industry ng garlic and ng sibuyas sa Pilipinas, syempre maaapektuhan yun na instead of us now trying to put our products at a good advantage kasi nasa Pilipinas na siya. Kung mapapansin, yung cost supposedly ay mas mababa dahil yung pag-produce mo ng sarili mong bawang at sibuyas ay mas madali at mas mabilis mo rin mo siya maibebenta dahil nasa Pilipinas ka lang as compared kung yung bawang at sibuyas mo ay manggagaling pa sa ibang bansa. Pero ang nangyayari kasi, yung mga bawang at sibuyas na galing pa sa ibang bansa ang mas mamura kaysa yung nandito sa atin. So, makikita nyo rin dun yung konsepto ng economics, dun sa concept local economics na kasi bakit ba nagiging mahal ang bawang at sibuyas sa Pilipinas? Kasi yung cost of production nagiging mahal pa rin compared nga dun sa kanilang bansa. No? So, meron ding papasok, nag-intertwine din dito yung konsepto ng development kasi as we are not as developed as them, hindi tayo makahanap ngayon ng capacities to lower the cost of production. So, kapag nagpasok sila ng good dito, ng bawang at sibuyas, mas mura kaysa sa bawang at sibuyas natin, mas maganda kaysa sa bawang at sibuyas natin. At ang nangyayari, we tend to patronate these products over our own, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga Pilipinong nananatiling nagugutom. So yun yung question ng food security. How will we address that? Nakakapag-produce ka nga more efficiently, cheaper, at mas mura ng mga pagkain, pero merong kasing nagugutom pa rin at the end of the day. Kasi nga, merong mga taong hindi na ngayon kayang sabayan yung ganong klase ng pag-produce ng goods at nagre-result yun sa hindi nila capacity to buy food for their tables. So please read that reading, no, that I will be posting, and good luck sa ating magiging exam. No? Thank you for this semester, and I hope na meron kayong natutunan in terms of globalization and the different facets of globalization, economic, social, cultural, and political, that would affect your lives, in one way or another. So thank you very much.